welcome to an impromptu podcast on a Friday night with Drew Fowler and I. My wife was at a work event, so I am bored out of my mind, and I call up Drew and I say, "Hey, why don't we do a live reveal of your best of the best for the top 100 for the prospects?" So, without further ado, I'll let Drew take it away. We don't know really where we're going with this one.
Yeah, I've not shared this with Ben. He'll be reacting live with all of you guys as you guys are all hearing it as well. Um, so I don't think. Sorry, I think there's definitely been some controversial
Just a little.
um, placements up to this point. I don't know if my top 10 is going to be all that controversial. We might be controversy free. Now, you get outside the top 10 and you get Chase Hampton. I think I had him at like, what, 11 or 12? I mean, I have the list right in front of me. No, at 11. Um, I mean, that was maybe controversial in some ways. But when we get into the top 10 here, I just look, people are going to disagree on some things, but let's just get right into it. Number 10, and arguably maybe the most controversial placement in the top 10 is Noel V. Marte of the Cincinnati Reds, left side infielder. I really like him in Great American Ballpark. I don't think he would be top 10 for me if he wasn't in Great American. Top 25, sure. Top 10, it's that Great
He
American
is.
Ballpark factor. He had a great uh, cup of coffee last year, and I just I don't see how he doesn't just explode in such a fun, exciting young offense. He might be the best of all of those young guys there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I again, like you said, I don't think that's super controversial. I think most people would have him at least in the top 15. But me personally, as a Reds fan, I love it. So, does it worry you at all that he did drop going from 2022 to 2023? I mean, he had a pretty severe drop. You think he's made that ground back up?
I just look at what
These are
he
the
did.
Drew Fowler rankings, come on.
I just look at what he did last year at the end, and that's all I care about right now. And I think the Reds have proved capable of developing hitting prospects, and
Never thought I'd
there's
say that in my
just
lifetime.
there's just a lot of factors that when you consider everything that I've seen, everything that you guys have seen at home, when you factor in everything together, this is a slam dunk prospect, and for me, top 10.
Okay, who you got at nine?
Number 9 is going to be the top ranked pitcher. So you guys all know who's coming. It's Paul Skeens.
That's a little low, I think people are going to say.
Well, 10 stop. I guess 10 stop is what I'll
You
say.
don't
But
believe that anymore with your plethora of pitching prospects.
no, the fact that there is a plethora of them implies that I believe in 10 stop because you just never know. They're all lottery tickets, no matter how high in the top 100 or how high in the top 10 they are. Um,
I'm glad to see you finally taken my approach and learned from it. It's glad someone's taking notice.
Look, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I'm impressed by what your pitching staff did in the first half of last year. It fell off in the second half, but a lot of those guys are still pretty young and early on in their career. You had injuries. Let's get through those.
But we're not here to
Where
talk
I
about
think
my
hold
pitching
on, hold
staff.
on, hold on, hold on. Where I think you messed up. Oh my God, this was not supposed to be a Bean Farm podcast.
No, it
But
really was
where
not.
where,
It was just
where you
laughing
where
and
you
comment.
messed up is you have like no starting pitchers slated to debut for like the next 2 years out of your 60 plus person farm system. It's actually insane. And and now you have injuries and you don't have that depth. So somehow
You know what
I
else has
don't.
happened? You know what else has happened? Everyone stopped listening. So let's keep the ball rolling. Let's
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
more
yeah.
about
Okay.
Paul Skeens. Nobody wants
Look,
to hear about my
okay.
pitching staff right now.
Uh, Paul Skeens versus Chase Hampton is
Oh my
razor
god.
thin for me.
No, so
I
hold
like
on.
Andrew Painter
I'm going to
too.
interrupt right here. Can you please, on air for posterity, explain your love of Chase Hampton and tell the ladies and not ladies, the gentlemen why you like Chase Hampton.
You want me to talk about Tilt V, don't you?
Tilt V.
Look, I have I read about prospects all year long, especially during the baseball season, and I come across various publications, some well known and some very, very, very obscure. Um,
Very.
and I take notes on guys that I put them basically on my own offline watch list of guys. These are prospects that I want to keep an eye on and maybe someday in the future bid on. At the very or at the time that I came across Chase Hampton, it was in the context of reading some obscure Twitter tweet about a statistic called Tilt V, I believe it was called. And I can't tell you what it was and what it is. I don't know what it represents. I don't. All I know is that any pitching prospect who was anybody on last year was on this list of Tilt V. And the top two of these Tilt V rankings were Chase Hampton and Hayden Birdsong, followed by names like Drew Thorpe, for instance, was on there. Um,
And you want to know the best part of the story? He can't find the article again.
Jacob
So we don't know if
Jacob
this actually
Mussorowski was
exists.
like top five, and I'm like Mussorowski's up there, Drew Thorpe's up there, and there are some other guys too. I believe oh my god, who Kyle Harrison was up there. I'm like, man, these guys are elite. And who tops the list? Oh, I've never heard of who's Chase Hampton, who's Hayden Birdsong. So plus, I really believe in the Yankees pitching development, and I really believe in actually, no, that's kind of. Oh, sorry, he was the minor league pitcher of the year, in all of the minor leagues last year, all of baseball. So there's just a lot that I really like about Chase Hampton. That's why he rockets up all the way to almost the top of my list for me. But enough about Chase Hampton. Paul Skeens. Paul Skeens. There's only so much you can read about a guy before you realize that he's the real deal. And there's not a single person bad mouthing Paul Skeens out there. Everyone's like, this is the best pitching prospect since Garrett Cole, since Strasburg, and so I got to buy into that hype. I think people are saying he struggled a little bit compared to expectations last year, but he just got off a college World Series season, um, pitching a bunch, and I look. I'm not going to take last year's minor league performance into account and really discount his ranking all that much. He, for me, is still the number one pitching prospect in baseball. My biggest question mark is it's the fact that the Pirates are going to be developing him. But how much more development does Skeens even need? He could be up as early as this upcoming year. Most of his development took place at LSU and prior to that Air Force Academy. And I don't know much about their pitching development, but it was clearly good enough to be how good he was last year for LSU. So
Now, you and I both read that article where there's some MLB executives saying he could possibly end up as a closer. I mean, does that concern you at all?
I sold high on Alexis Diaz last year for what amounted to basically like 50 BAM. If Paul Skeens is a closer, he's at least as good as Alexis Diaz. He'll be the best closer in baseball.
Okay, fair enough. Who you got at seven
All right,
or
7.
eight? Whatever one we're at.
I think we are at 8.
That's what I thought.
So eight's going to be a mainstay in my top 10 for years now. I've been sending my own version of my top 10 prospect rankings to various people in the league for years now. Jordan Lawler's been there since day one. He continues to be there now. He's number 8. Um, Super solid, all around kind of shortstop. He'll play every day. Um, this is not a Von Grissom situation where no matter what he does with his bat, his defense is so bad he won't play. No, his defense is his strongest suit actually, but that's not to discount what he can do on offense. He will hit the ball, he'll run, and in today's day and age, with how fast pitchers pitch the ball, anyone can kind of luck their way into some power. I feel like. Um, so I like him. I like Lawler. Just they're in my top 10. Nothing more to say. Everything that can be said about him as a prospect has been said already. He will be up and he will be the starter for the Diamondbacks this year.
Okay. Who you got next?
The next two guys are really hard to separate for me. They are like I could flip flop them, but I'm going to say them at the same time for that reason.
Okay.
7 and 6
It's
are
kind of a tough battle.
Wyatt Langford, and Junior Caminero.
Oh my God. No, see, that's the most controversial one you've had so far. Drue, and I'm sorry, JD, because listen, there's podcast proof that I said this 1 year ago. Junior Caminero was outside the top 100, and I said, give it a year. He will be a top 10 prospect in baseball. He's surpassed that. He is a top 5 prospect in baseball, and I think if you don't have him there, we got some serious issues. The power is
Just,
real.
just wait until we get to my top five. We're about to get there. Look, I will admit I was probably wrong when I did when I ranked Junior Caminero tier two.
No,
Look,
probably you were wrong.
for years, so for you, the people who are listening to this need the background because JD is probably the only one who's heard this before because he went to high school with me. And Ben, Paul Goldschmidt. Let me tell you about Paul Goldschmidt. I, for years, badmouthed Paul Goldschmidt, and I hated that the Cardinals obtained Paul Goldschmidt a few years ago. Why is that? Because I don't believe people come out of nowhere to become MVP candidates. I know they can come out of nowhere and become good players. Matt Carpenter did it for my Cardinals as like a 37th round draft pick. But I am very skeptical when it comes to guys that just break out from nowhere. I like pedigree. I like um, I love looking at legacy scouting reports and saying if a guy had talent that was identified early, then I still believe in that guy. I am very patient. So I hate that about Junior Caminero that I had no idea who this guy was. He comes out of nowhere and now he's top five in a lot of people's opinions. I want to give it more time. That's why I had him tier two. I just don't fully believe. Are the tools there? Apparently so. I just I have other guys that have better pedigree that I'd prefer to place in front of him. Was it wrong for me to put him tier two? Sure. He's probably a tier one
No,
prospect.
yes. Say the words yes.
Okay. Wyatt Langford, on the other hand, I I think he's pretty flawless when it comes to a projectable power hitter in MLB. And he's a hitter's hitter, right? This is not Joey Gallo. Um, so yeah, Wyatt Langford, no reason not to have him top 10, so he's there.
Okay, so starting off now, top 5. Who you got?
Well, I said that Junior Caminero and Wyatt Langford can't make my top five because there are five guys that I legitimately have in front of them. And I think it might be hard to argue. His own teammate, Wyatt Langford's own teammate, comes in at number five, Evan Carter. How do you not have Evan Carter in your top five after watching him at the end of last year and in the playoffs? He was already a top 10 prospect before he basically put together the greatest 1 month rookie stretch we've seen since Aristides Aquino in Cincinnati. Um, Evan Carter, top five. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that one. He's going to be great this year.
All right, yeah, I don't really have much to add to that. I would say some people probably have him up higher, but top 5, I think with how good the top 5 is right now, those lines are just going to get blurred, and it's really hard to say. It's a matter of personal opinion of who's one, two, three, four, five.
This next one, number four. This is the one where people are going to say that he should be swapped out for Caminero and arguably even below Langford as well. And that is Dylan Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because 3 months ago, or what is it now, January, 6 months ago at the time of the MLB draft, we're all like Dylan Cruz should be the number one pick. It was Paul Skeens, Dylan Cruz went two. The point is, I don't know what happened. I don't know why people all of a sudden moved Dylan Cruz down a little bit. He is still going to hit and
I
do
mean,
nothing but hit. and
He's
I think the floor
struggled
is
every
incredibly
time he's
high.
moved up.
Who? What?
And Paul, Dylan Cruz, every time he's moved up a level, including last year, he's struggled. I mean, he had 85 plate
People
appearances in Double A to end the season and batted 208 with a 500 OPS.
prospects do that. Like what?
They
I
do, but can you put him above a guy who went to the MLB and hit home runs like Junior Caminero did? I don't think you can do that.
you mean Evan Carter?
Well, I think that Cruz, like you said, should probably be below Wyatt Langford and Junior Caminero. So I would agree with what you think people are going to say, but you're entitled to your own opinion.
I just think that it's consistent with what I was just saying. Once a guy's been scouted and scouts pretty much unanimously agreed on his talent level, which was that of a number one overall pick, it's hard for me to go against that. So I got Dylan Cruz ahead. If I owned Wyatt Langford or Junior Caminero, I would trade them straight up for Dylan Cruz.
That is a bold statement. That is a bold statement. Okay. So now we're moving on to what? That was that was
It
four,
was
right?
number four. I'm
Okay.
going to do 3 and 2 at the same time because everyone has these two guys together. How do you separate them? You can't even separate them by first name. They have the same one. We got Jackson Holiday checking in at number 3, Jackson Churio at number 2. Despite the fact that I'm a floor over a ceiling guy, I can't help the fact that the Brewers already signed um, Jackson Churio to it was like 8 year, $80 million deal or something like that. They expect him to play every day. This is not a we have to wait and see if this guy's even going to make the major leagues. No, this is a he will be up, he will be there. We know his power speed combo. His power speed combo is better than Jackson Holiday's. No one is saying that. The question is he going to produce a 330 OBP or a 400 OBP, largely driven by how much contact he makes? Um, so it, Adolis Garcia, I think, is his floor, and his ceiling is Ronald Acuna Jr. So, 2-3-3-2. I don't care what. I don't think anyone cares what order you place those guys in. I think some people. Well, I say some people. I think Graydon specifically would rank Jackson Holiday lower because he doesn't like his ceiling as much.
Mhm.
And I just have to say, Major League bloodlines. Respect the Major League bloodlines. He can grow into some power. I've probably gained 50 pounds since I was his age, and I'm now 28. Now that's not muscle.
Yours is
That's
not
fat.
gaining.
That's fat. But
Okay.
I'm saying you can grow into more muscle at a 19-year-old frame, 20-year-old frame. So um, Jackson Holiday, I totally believe will have 25, if not 30 homer power just because his dad is Matt Holiday. And how do I not project him to grow into that frame? I just don't. I could not disagree more with Graydon. If any of you guys have had conversations with him about Jackson Holiday, just call him crazy. That's my number 3. That's my number 2, which leaves my number 1, which you guys are probably like, who's his number 1? Because it should have been one of the Jacksons, right? Well, if you were forgetting, Yoshinobu Yamamoto is a prospect.
Okay, that's a cop out though.
He is number 1. There's
And
once
I'm going to bring this up to people. I know he is technically a prospect by MLB standards. That dude's not a prospect. You can't really put him on the list.
Do you think a AAA baseball team could
The
compete in the
Japanese leagues are
Japanese
better than
baseball
AAA
league?
baseball.
You think you say that again?
I think the Japanese leagues are better than AAA.
But they're definitely worse than the major leagues.
Yes.
So Yamamoto has basically spent the last few years pitching in a very high level of um,
Nobody would give a
minor
rookie
league
a
ball.
$325 million contract if they didn't believe that he was already a full professional MLB baseball player.
Well, the Brewers just gave Churio 80 million, and he's not
There's a
even played
big
a game
difference
yet.
between 320 million and 80 million. Big difference.
Sure, he's a prospect. He's my number one. And look, if you don't call him a prospect, then Caminera's top five, and you get your way. So,
Caminero should be top three,
oh my
personally.
god. So Yamamoto. I don't think I have anything to say here about Yamamoto.
No, I was going to say, I can't
Who's
really
gonna
argue with the
disagree that he's the
placement.
number one?
The only thing, and it's like you just said, the Japanese leagues are worse than the MLB. So there is some concern, and there's a history to back it up of Japanese players, pitchers specifically, coming over and setting the world on fire. And I know I'm holding one of them myself right now, and then the league figuring them out, and they regress. And to give a guy a lot of money like that, it's a little bit dangerous. And I know I'm in a very similar situation right now, but I can't really argue the number one placement until we see him pitch definitive number one, and I'm pretty confident of that.
Okay, well that's my top 10. Let me just say it one more time here at the end. Number 10, Noel V. Marte. Number 9, Paul Skeens. Number 8, Jordan Lawler. Number 7, Wyatt Langford. 6, Junior Caminero. Top 5 begins with Evan Carter, followed by Dylan Cruz. Then you got Jackson and Jackson, Holiday at 3, Churio at 2, and Yamamoto, the number one prospect, shouldn't really be controversial outside the fact that some might not actually consider him a prospect. Um,
Yeah.
that's
So,
it. That's the list.
do we have any sort of update you want to give people on winter meetings? I know I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit.
Graydon is in Puerto Rico. So until Graydon is back from Puerto Rico, we cannot have winter meetings because part of this is for the Seattle contingent who's never really met Graydon to get to meet him. Um, you know what? I say that, but Sean's in a fantasy football league with Graydon, and Perry's doing this decathlon thing with Graydon. He's perfectly well known, just not really to Jacob and Jack. But
Wait, Perry and Graydon are doing decathlon?
it's not together, but we're all doing this like thing together. And so
You're doing it?
I'm doing the thing that Perry sent around, the decathlon.
Oh, I didn't even see it.
Yeah, it's like 10 sports. It's really cool. If you have questions and you want to check it out, ask Perry. He'll get you
Oh,
set
I
up.
thought you meant decathlon like you were running.
No. This is it's a
Sounds
sports
like
decathlon. You
okay. All
year
right.
round you
That
pick
makes
10
total sense. That
sports.
makes total sense.
Yeah, you basically pick things like sports betting for like 10
I
different
thought
sports throughout the
decathlon
whole year.
was like you do a bunch of different things like running, rowing, and like
Right. So it's 10 different sporting events or
sports.
10 different sports that it's like a pick 'em.
Gotcha. It's a fantasy
It's a
decathlon.
fantasy thing. Yeah.
That's
So
very nerdy.
you have questions about it, you're interested, ask Perry. Okay. Well, we can wrap this up. We
Yeah.
can keep this short. Anyone else wants to make a top 100, be my guest. But
I'm gonna
this
put
was
all
fun.
yours outside the top 100 because your list is shit.
You know who's not in the top 100 prospects? Drue Fowler. Drue
Drew
Fowler is
Fowler's
not.
not a top
He's not
100
in the
prospect.
top 100,000
I feel
prospects.
like he should be put back on my sheet because I feel like he was removed before his time.
It takes up bandwidth, and JD and
Wait,
I
one
noticed.
player takes up bandwidth. Okay.
Well, every little thing takes up bandwidth, and the problem is we're actually running into slow sheets for the first time ever. That's part of the reason we're moving to a website
Yeah.
because it's just too slow.
And hopefully
Um,
Drew and I can make some progress on the website and we'll have an update for everyone soon.
all right, I'm going to stop this recording. Thanks, everyone. Bye.